What's that story you've never been able to tell? I keep my sex life private IRL, so I have never told anyone about the one and only time I had sex in public, and subsequently the one and only time I got caught having sex. By someone in an airplane. My BF and I were out at the deserted quarry on the edge of town, and we were going at it when a little two-seater plane flew overhead. The plane then proceeded to turn around and fly over us again, this time dipping, wiggling its wings when it was overhead. In elementary school, we had a program called DARE where a police officer would come into our class and teach us about the dangers of substance and alcohol abuse. At the end of the year, he prompted us to write an essay about what we learned over the course of the year in DARE. He also advised us that the author of the best essay in the class would receive a stuffed lion, appropriately named Darren. Now I really wanted this lion, but the problem with that was my writing skills were those of a typical third grader. There was no way that anything I wrote about my time in DARE would stand out enough for my fellow classmates to win Darren. So I did what any desperate 10-year-old would do. Googled DARE essay contest winners, and then plagiarized the first one that came up in my searches. Now this was done diligently, carefully proofreading to ensure that I wasn't going to turn in an essay with somebody else's name in it somewhere. I went through and changed phrasing or a word here and there, but by no means would it pass through Turnitin. Calm with less than 90% plagiarized. Confident in my chances of winning Darren, I turned in the essay to Mr. Officer, and what do you know? A week later we had our end-of-year reception at the municipal building, which also contained the police station. He listed the top 3 essays, 3rd place, 2nd place, and then he said, holding Darren, the best DARE essay submitted this year was written by Yasoikori. Come on up here, get your Darren stuffed animal, and read your essay to us please. I was so excited I won the animal, it was never even a thought that crossed my mind that I would have to deliver this speech. So I reluctantly walked up, took my stuffed animal, and all I can remember at this point is shaking so bad, it looked like I was going to fall over at the mic. All of my classmates, all of their parents, and the entire local municipality's worth of police officers with their full attention on me. A 10-year-old little fraud of a student. To this day, it's one of my most shameful moments, and I still have Darren sitting on my desk for discouragement from copying others' work. The time my mom needed to go back into the house to get a scarf. Because of this, we were held back and missed a bus by 10 seconds. That bus then crashed into a bridge at very high speed because the bus driver had mental health problems. It is the closest I have ever been to death. I will never complain about my mom going back to get a scarf in my life again. When I was just a boy, I was touched when I was getting my haircut. My father had to make a quick run to the ATM, so we were alone. I never realized it affected me that much and honestly didn't even think about it for years until I drove by the place where the barbershop used to be and just felt immense stress. I would never tell my father. He has always been insecure about whether or not he's been a good father to me. This would make him hate himself. In 6th grade, we had this paper we had to write. I forget what the subject was. I decided to procrastinate a lot. Then the day it was due rolled around, and I had nothing. We had to read our papers out loud in front of the class. I was totally prepared to take the 0, but then I realized he wasn't actually taking the papers we used. So I decided to go up to the front of the class with a blank sheet of paper and improvise. I ended up getting an 80. My buddy had an old bowling ball in the back of his car. One day we were driving around town and drove by a large cliffside. I asked him if I should just chuck it down the cliff. He said sure. I then learned about a hiking path near the bottom of that cliff. I still think about how we could have killed someone that day.